Christmas tree.
Good morning, everybody. It's another Friday, which means you're here with Dave and Dwarren from the Business Unscripted podcast, where we are going to give you some hopefully good advice or learn from our lessons, our mistakes to better serve your business journey. Whether you're just getting started or you're already in business, you're in the right spot. So grab your favorite cup of Joe. Let's jump into the show. So Dwarren, good morning, sir. Well, evening for you, but morning for most of us over here in the United States. So how are you, brother?
I am good, Dave. I've had a busy week. Lots of positivity and lots of great things happening. We're all good over here. What about yourself back there?
Like yourself, I think it's been a very busy week. It always seems like it's busy, and I was just mentioning this to my fiance, right? You never feel like you have enough time. It flies. Time flies. Now, when you're older, and we heard the adage when we were younger, right? Everybody that was elderly was like, don't worry, when you get older, time's gonna fly, because you're always complaining that school is too long, or all this stuff. And boy, were they true.
Oh, absolutely. I managed to get an hour and a half to go catch up with a friend of mine who I hadn't caught up with for a few months, who'd been back to Australia and then come back again. He lives here. And we were just doing a general catch up, get some presents for the kiddos that he bought back. And he jumped in the car and then he took off after the meeting or after our catch up. I'm so used to business. So everything's a meeting for me. Everyone's a catch up. It's crazy. And he messages me 2.5 hours later going, "Hey, brother, I just got back home." I'm like, "Oh my gosh."
Wow.
And I was like, "Oh my gosh, what a complete waste of time it is to be traveling." And for me, I just feel blessed that I can work from home. And I'm so blessed that I gave a lot of my staff the chance to work from home as well, because that time in the car is dead time a lot of the time. And I know back in Australia, like when I used to do the travel to work, I used to go 1.5 hours to work, travel every day, 40, 50 kilometers. What's that, about 20 to 25 miles for you guys in the US?
Right.
And those days going to work were spent doing phone calls. I was connected to the Bluetooth. I was doing phone calls, client meetings, catch up with friends, things like that. So I tried to make it less dead time, but I just find any travel time here, I'm so focused on the terrible traffic that I can't be on a call dealing with something like that. So it's completely dead time when I'm traveling. So
I'll say that, like, for me too, I kind of miss that travel time for working from home. And the reason is a lot of that, like you mentioned, right? You can either use it for phone calls. For me, I definitely was using it for like audiobooks and just filling it with things that, kind of made me a better individual. And then on the way home, it allowed me to decompress, from the day.
Mm-hmm.
So I was able to, if something bad happened, I was able to let it go. Or if work was at, there, and I needed to get something done, it was at the office. It wasn't at home. And when I'm working from home now, it's there. And it's like, okay, I'm sitting here watching TV, but I can walk over to my desk and maybe I can edit some videos or make some posts. And really, like, when you're working for yourself, you kind of have to spend a lot of your time doing that. And you lose some of that time for yourself, right? For the education, for the reading, which are also important aspects to growing as an individual and educating and leveling up.
I totally agree. And there's one thing you mentioned there was interesting, like the decompression. I remember years ago, I used to have a job in the city, and I would drive down, park at the train station early in the morning, jump the train, travel in via train to the city, and then walk to, the 800, 1,200 meter walk down to my office at the time near the train station. Super convenient for me. There was very little parking at the office. It was much easier than trying to travel in and fight the traffic. And I'd use the time to, read my online books and do that sort of upskilling and stuff. This is before you could really, stream video on mobile data in Australia without any, so watching a YouTube video wasn't enough, right? Yes, old man, people are saying, but I'd be reading a PDF book on on an iPad or something like that, right? That was cool.
Right.
Sometimes I'd print something and read it off real paper. Amazing things like that. But it was great. Oh, absolutely, right? I mean, occasionally, but then you have to remember, it's easier just to email yourself something and read it off the screen sometimes. But what happened is on the afternoon, instead of getting a train home, one of my colleagues who was a friend, he worked at the other end of the block. So he worked for the sister company. So what would happen is I'd drive home with him. So I'd be a passenger in his car. And we had this rule. And it wasn't a hard rule, but it was something that we put in play. We were able to decompress and vent right up until the point of, let me just check I got my microphone on the right microphone here.
Yeah, we're just getting a lot of feedback in the background.
Yeah, my wife's in the room today and she's typing on a mechanical keyboard and it is a little bit loud. Sorry, I didn't realize that was coming through. My apologies.
No, I just kind of paid attention. I was like, oh crap, I didn't realize that.
Let me just change the direction of my microphone and see if that changes. All right. So one of the things that we would do is we'd set a bridge on the road back, which is about, that was the heaviest traffic part. So about 30 minutes would be up until that point. And that was our vent period. If either of us needed to vent, we would vent for that period. And then we'd get the bridge and go, stop, time's done.
You're over, no more venting allowed, yeah.
No more venting. Now we just talk about stupid shit that we want to talk about, bloke stuff, whatever. And it was kind of cool because you get to decompress before you got home. Because sometimes, oh man, you've got so much stress going on. You go and try and talk to your significant other, and then suddenly you look over and you're like, yeah, they got a lot of shit going on as well. Probably not the right time. And you find yourself just holding on to that when you're at home and working from home. So I feel that, man. I totally get where you're coming at from there. That's where networks and people you can reach out to and talk to can help. But I've got a couple of really good buddies in Australia. I still have, probably 4 times a week, I'll do a decompressing conversation with them. They'll do a decompress with me. And it's really helpful. So I just do it online now on a video call instead.
And that's the good thing too. I think the biggest thing that I've said for a while now from COVID was that it kind of leaped the technology forward at least 10 years in terms of getting into virtual sessions and everything. And in business, that's one, because you can meet with anybody, but also get a lot of things done. Because you're literally you can go from one meeting to the next and make it impactful, especially if you're a smaller solo, maybe 1 or 2 person team. But it also gives you the ability to get talent from everywhere. And it was one of the things that we talked about when we were in corporate and we're searching for new accountants. And the conversation came up was, do we search remotely? And do we open it up than just the local community or within the 30, 40 miles around where the office was? Do we open it up to maybe the state of Ohio or somewhere near there where you're able to have a higher pool of qualified candidates? And it's good and bad. If you're a job seeker, it's probably bad because now you're also competing against all these other people. If you go to LinkedIn Jobs, I'm sure you're going to see that if it's a degreed position, they probably have 200-300 people that have submitted an application for that job. So you really got to stand out, not only in yourself for a job, but you got to stand out in business. And it's how you're doing that, which kind of leads into the first sort of conversation piece that we wanted to talk about today. And it's, I think, one that's impactful because we're coming up to the Christmas holiday, but we're also coming up to the new year. And it's around marketing, or, do you market yourself specifically around the seasons, the holidays, or do you find other ways to market yourself? And I know, Dwarn, you're in marketing, so why don't you give us some insights? And then I have some insights as well, but I'm sure the conversation will go off the rails like it always does. So.
Oh, absolutely. Right. I mean, That's just normal, and that's what the unfiltered and the unscripted part's all about, right?
Yes,
So
yes.
it's interesting. I think this is an interesting one. If you're like, I've got clients who fall into both categories of this. Like, I've got hospitality clients, food and beverage clients, and retail clients who definitely fall into this category of following the trend of seasons, because you need to be preparing food and catering services around the holiday seasons and accommodation for those holiday seasons. So it makes sense. And retail for sales. From the point of view of like our web design business, we don't do it anymore. It was something that I decided subtly not to do last year. And I thought, let's just work on a marketing strategy we run all year long, because these are not relevant to the type of customers that we're attracting anyway. Like a customer who wants to talk to me about a website doesn't care that it's Christmas for the purpose of getting a special deal. He's probably looking at the fact that he's going to spend some time with his family, and a business to business transaction is probably not the most relevant thing for him at the time. Now, in saying that, I definitely find January a much more interesting time of year, because that's when people are starting to plan for their new business trends and stuff like that. So I guess we're going with a different trend. We've gone with business related trends rather than seasonal trends. But I can definitely see where a lot of businesses find the benefit around it. Like, all you got to do is just pick up your phone and look at all the ads you're getting blasted with. And for some people, it makes a lot of sense in their business. If you're like, I know one of the clients that we share and we work with does snow plowing. So obviously his marketing has to be in line when the season hits for that. And junk hauling, which is, springtime. Springtime is a perfect seasonal trend to spring cleaning and things like that. So you could definitely jump on that sort of thing where it works out really well.
Well, I think the important piece that you hit here is that it has to play into your ideal clients' seasons, right? Their buying patterns, not necessarily your buying pattern, but where you got to think through your clients' buying patterns and plan your promotions around that. And you should plan around 4 to 5 big pushes throughout the year based around those situations.
I think it's a good point. And I think so many people, like, we've all done it in marketing. We've all gone and go, oh, let's go celebrate every bloody holiday there ever was with, it's now International Men's Day, it's International Women's Day, it's International Child's Day, International Sun's Day, International Apple Pie Day. I mean, there's all these different crazy things going on. And I think it's really easy to fall into that category. So I just want to post something. I'm going to post something about that. We've gotten to the point now where we're just not posting about those things because everybody else does it. So what we do instead is when we post, we try and post something important, something meaningful, and something that's going to be impactful for the people who we want to actually connect with, and not just more noise. So that's where we're going with it. And I think it's really, you hit the nail on the head there, where you have to really understand who your client is. You have to understand what the seasons and trends mean to them. And you go out and start working on that. Maybe Christmas isn't the right time to be going out and doing a promo because they're not interested in your product for that time of year. It's one of those things. Maybe like if you're going to sell a photocopier, Christmas is not really that great a time because people are not going to be in the office. They're going to be on vacation. So how are you going to take delivery? Exactly.
Yeah,
so
it really comes down to knowing your ICP, knowing the buying, kind of journey that they're on, and when they're going to be in the office, when, who's the decision makers and all of that. And as you're heading into a new year, this is the time where you should be sitting down yourself, really using it as a planning. Obviously, you want to continue to have those conversations and network and do all that, but in your business, you need to spend some time in that kind of visionary, that entrepreneur mindset, and look at the calendar and actually schedule out the year. Okay, when is the big buying opportunities for my clients? Are you B2C? Are you B2B? Which is another big important factor.
Absolutely.
your decision making in terms of where you're going to like really make these promotions and these pushes. Because if you're B2C, yeah, play to the holidays, play to the special events, because that's when people go out and they buy those specific things, you know, in terms of gift cards for junk hauling or gift, you know, retail purchases and all that kind of stuff. But if you're more B2B, you really got to be thinking about like, okay, you got tax time, you got year end, you know, you got budgeting season, which is typically around like the August, September, which is when people are setting up their new budgets for the next year. So if you want to work with a client and they've told you in the past, hey, we really don't have the budget for that this year, well, then you need to be reaching back out July and August because you know that they're going to be entering into their budget season so that you can start having the conversation with them again, and then they can get it into their budget and they can get it approved. So really understanding this about your clients is important when you look ahead for 2026 and actually schedule out where you want and how you want to kind of implement that marketing within your business and the strategy you want to put for the offers you want to put out there.
Yeah, I think that's really important. It's funny, the catch up, not meeting I had with my friend today, one of the things we talked about was how some promotions don't value the existing customer. They don't value the loyalty of the existing customer. They actually tend to value new customers, offer ridiculous value and savings for a new customer, but let the existing customers sit by the wayside. Now, I personally experienced this with Black Friday sale, where I was able to sign up for a service at a 12th of the cost for an entire year. And I had the same service. My renewal's coming up in February. I reached out to them and proactively said, hey, look, this is the same service I have. If I sign up to your promo here with a new account, like, and just migrate my services across to there, how does that affect me? Oh, that's a lot of work, but there's no real reason why you couldn't do it. But how about we come back with another offer for you? I said, well, if you match the offer, I'll just re-sign right now. And they're like, well, we'll come back. They came back with a 50% discount. So in this case, I was still up. It was $100 that I was going to get it for a year. They came back with a $600 for the year option for me.
Right.
So I
it was supposed to be $100 a month, right?
Yeah, $50 a month as opposed to $100 a month. So they gave me a 50% discount. They said, oh, we'll let you, instead of paying it up front for a year, we'll let you pay it monthly. And I'm like, what's the value proposition? I'm going to save $500 if I just sign up and just move the services across to it.
Right.
And it made no sense. I felt devalued as a customer who'd been with them for quite a few years because of this. And the reason that came up in conversation with my friend today was because we're talking about insurance companies and how every year, like clockwork, he would get on a call and he would call the insurance company after going online and checking what the latest policy for a new policy sign up would be with the same company he was with for the same vehicle at the same location or the same house insurance. And it would always be cheaper. And he would call them and say, look, I got my letter. It says my premium's going to be X. I jumped on your website. If I re-sign up and cancel this policy, I can get it for this much. And they would always renegotiate with him, and they generally match or better the price that he had on the line. But they forced him to call every year in order to take that action.
Well, that's what they
proactively nurture. Exactly right. And they didn't proactively nurture that existing loyalty from the client. So my biggest advice is, from a marketing point of view, whatever you're going to do, it's all well and great to come out with these amazing big promotions that just seem outlandishly crazy, but don't do it at the detriment of existing customers. Think about your existing customers who are loyal, who are working with you, that are paying to keep the lights on for you when you do these. And it's all good.
I want to hit one, and I think the difference here is, are you in the kind of just getting established stage, or are you right, like you're set and you have a big customer base? Because if you are looking to, like, you're just getting started and you need to bring in those new customers, that's where those big, huge promotions are going to be impactful, because you don't have, like you said, an existing customer base to disappoint. And then as you grow, you adjust that offer. And as you grow, this is why I say this all the time, don't discount, because it's so hard for you to get that back. Right? in you just mentioned it, right? Black Friday, you got it for 1/12, which means in your mind, that's essentially the service is worth that 1/12 because you got it discounted. Now it's so hard for them to get you back to the full price. Just like in your business, if you're in your business and you're thinking the easiest way for me to get somebody on is to discount. That's not the truth. Because in order for discounts to actually truly be meaningful, it's got to be anywhere from 40 to 50%. And then it's that much more difficult to get that person up to the full price when the term is over, because what's going to happen is they're going to leave or they're going to find somebody else that's going to be a lesser cost. This is why I always say add value. That's your bonus.
100%.
Keep your price the same and add value. Add an extra offering that maybe is low cost to you, but high value to the client because it gets a lot of outcome to them. Or if they do want to negotiate price, negotiate the scope as well. Don't give the same higher level of service. So in your example, Dwarn, if they did a 1/12 offer, now if it was a newer company, I could understand it, but then they should probably have it. It shouldn't have been 1/12. It maybe should have been 60% off or something. It's a lot easier. But
even half price would have been normal.
even half price. But what you then need to do is, focus on how do I get them to the regular price? And maybe there's a plan scale to that. But don't discount. Add value.
Yeah.
That's the biggest piece there. If you're an existing person, low cost to you, high value to your client, you can add that on. Because what happens in renewal is they're still getting the same basic service, the package, whatever it ends, however you plan on doing it. It's just the extra bonus falls off after so long of a time. And in your case, Dwarn, if you would have paid 1/12 for the normal price and maybe got half of the availability of, if there are restrictions on like the limits or whatever, you would probably still feel okay because now you're at least getting to test the waters, see if it works.
Yes.
And then it's not so hard to say, okay, I'm actually paying more and I'm getting more for that, which is the hardest piece of that.
Exactly. And in my case, it was a like for like. I wrote to them and they confirmed it was like for like. But they still wanted to charge a higher rate because I was an existing customer. Right. Now, one thing that I've seen that QuickBooks been doing here in the Philippines, they're trying to win market share in the Philippines right now, is they're offering up to 6 months at a half price rate. Then you go onto the normal rate after 6 months. So they get you on at a period of time that's reasonable, 6 months to get on board, set up, use it, and rely on it. And then at that point, you move up to the full-time price. Something like that, 3 to 6 month period for a ramp up, totally, I think it's a much better solution rather than trying to say, look, sign up for a whole year, we'll give you a massive discount. Give them a shorter period. Give them a big discount for a short period of time.
And that piece right there is because they know that once they get you into their ecosystem, it's really hard for you to leave. You're not going to want to migrate your system after 6 months. Exactly. So they realize that you're going to be there for a little while, and you do get a lot of value for what you get with QuickBooks. So that was kind of my piece with that is discount. What I heard you don't discount unless if you're in the first stage of your business, great, like discount to get people on. You need to do the work anyways, especially if you're B2B. Like you can say, hey, this is typically here, but I'm looking for the first 5 people that I'm going to give 50% off. And then scale it up after the first, period, whether it's a 3, 6, or 12-month program, whatever that is. But you're not, so you said, you're not detrimenting your existing customers. And I think a lot of people overlook their existing customers, like you just mentioned, especially when you're established. And here's the thing. With existing customers, if you need to make more sales or growth, there's 2 things that you should be doing with your existing customers on a regular basis. 1, ask for referrals. If you're giving them the results that you said to them, ask, hey, do you happen to know anybody else that's in your network that could use the same support that you're getting from us right now? Yeah, that's number 1. And number 2 is look for ways to add further value, but then add on to the package and growth with them. Right? You can essentially add or roll forward into the next package higher level of support because again, you've been working with them, they trust you, they know you're getting the results for them and the support. It's that evolution of the relationship. And those are the 2 things that I feel like listening to a lot of clients' conversations that they overlook. They overlook the warm network outreaches that should be done on a regular basis, and they just focus on serving the client.
The other thing is like should consider talking to somebody about what they offer in their package. What you might find is you have value propositions already in your existing package you didn't realize were value propositions. So one common one is the customer service that you might offer. You might have a guaranteed person answers the phone every time. You might have an instant reply to every time someone sends an email through, you'll get a reply within 1 hour. You might have every job that gets sent through gets executed and worked on within a 4-hour period. Whatever that might look like, you've got that those are wonderful value adds that you might not see as a value add. You're like, well, that's just part of me doing my job. That's just part of me doing my business. And I remember probably about a year and a half ago, you and we spoke about another client who was doing mobile detailing. And you were having a conversation with him and he was sharing about all these things that he was doing for his clients. And you asked him a question, I believe, was, are all your competitors doing the same thing? And he's like, no. So your pricing is on par with what theirs is, but you're adding all this extra value.
It was lower.
Yeah, it was lower. And you're adding all this extra value. So you got two options. Increase your price to their price and then tell them about the extra value, or remove all the extra value and maintain your price.
Right.
And I think he was opting at the time that increase the price, tell them about the value was the proposition that worked for him, because he didn't want to do anything less, because that was his expectation of what he gave clients. And that's why they chose.
And this is why when you build out your packages or your programs and your offers, you have to think line by line. For example, a bookkeeping offering. We know as accountants or bookkeepers what all goes into the monthly close process.
Yeah.
The business owner, unless they have an accounting degree or have some experience in that aspect or realm of the business, they don't know what goes into it. So detail out everything that you're going to be doing at the different levels. And then those added situations of value props that you just said, these are bonuses that you give all of your clients, because most often people aren't talking about that. And so those are like the bonus. At this level, you're going to get, unlimited text and email, kind of support with a 48-hour turnaround. At this package, you're going to get, 24-hour, but you also get, 3 touch-based phone calls throughout the month to ask a question on the phone. And then at your higher level package, if that's something that you want to do, it's a 4-hour turnaround, as you talked about, and you get unlimited touch-based calls. You can call me anytime, because as you grow, your time's going to be more limited. And so you have to focus on what are those offerings, what are those bonuses, what are those values that my clients value that, as you mentioned, just seem natural because you do it. Just like for me, all my clients, they have access to me, whether it's WhatsApp, my phone number, all that. But as
what's good about that approach?
Mm-hmm.
You know what's great about that approach, Dave? Sorry to cut you off there. Was when you start building out your line by line items like that, what it allows you to do is also create a lower cost item, which gets you an entry product, which you can then start taking out some of those extra value adds, where you can say, you know what, I could still do this without these, and there's still a value proposition for someone to sign up for this. And that starts the conversation. But when you talk to them, you get to tell them about all these amazing value propositions and then move them into the plan, which is better fitted for them. And if you're looking at your competitors, and we've all done it. We've looked at a competitor price list or pricing page and going, well, that's really obvious. Of course you've got to do that. That's part of the service we have to offer if we're providing that as a product or a service. Yeah. And you're doing that. It means that they've gone through and done this process. They've worked out each value proposition all the way through. And because they've done that, it's because people are noticing. And people will look at it who don't know the industry, because imagine people who are not involved in bookkeeping don't know what's involved. We make the assumption that it's about this and this and this, but we may not know.
Same thing with website development. I don't know what goes into a complete website design, and I've learned stuff since we've been, in a friendship and our partnership. But I didn't know that before. I was just like, Wix, right? You just take some stuff and you drop it into the thing. How hard could it be? And then there's coding behind it. There's all the forms that go into this. And so there's a lot of stuff that, Absolutely. You're the expert in whatever you do. And so breaking that down into step-by-step, everything that they're going to get, you're increasing that value. And that golden ratio is you want it to be, about 4 times the value in their mind of comparison value to what they're essentially deciding to invest in your program. And this is the other thing that I think is more impactful today now, because everybody's so used to that Goldilocks pricing that hey, here's 3 packages, here's my low, middle, and high. And everybody is overwhelmed with that stuff now. So I think when you have the opportunity, if you're listening to this and you're a solopreneur or you're a smaller opportunity, your biggest opportunity is to really give, or it can even be, a low payment as an entry offer, but do an assessment of your client's situation. And based on that assessment, place them into the package. And say, based on what you're telling me, this is what I feel is the best service for you right now, and this is why. Now, you don't want it to be your high. Like your high program, you're all in, whatever you want to call it, that's for like 5% of your clients, because it takes up a lot of your time. The majority of your clients, about 70 to 80%, should be in your middle level service package, with the other remaining 15% in your low service package. And be honest with them. Like if somebody is maybe they're just getting started out, but they need some support. Hey, based on what you're telling me right now, the basic is all you need. This is what this does with your client. You build that trust. You build that expertise with them, because you're not just trying to sell them on your highest level service. You're going through your assessment, you're listening to their answers, and then you're saying, hey, based on what I'm listening and I'm hearing from you, because you said X, Y, and Z, my basic package is going to be right for you right now while we get things, whether it's caught up, get started, and then we could possibly, as you grow, jump you into the next level.
I think that's perfect, right? And if you've got a product or a service that takes a lot of work to have that initial audit, there's 2 ways you can do it, or scoping out the right solution. You can agree that there's a scoping cost or an audit cost to do. And you can agree that if they continue with you, that becomes a deduction off the actual package they choose, right? We've done that before. It's a value proposition. Now, if they walk away at that point, at least you got paid for the work you did. So you don't have to feel like you've done all this work for nothing. Alternatively, you can come up with like a very small fee and use that as a, if this is normally worth $599 for me to do this audit or scope for you, I'll do it. I can do it for $99 with no obligation.
Great.
If you go with one of my packages, right? So you can recover some of the cost of it if you need to,
or you include it. And that's the other thing you could do, right? You can sell. Maybe it's a $299, whatever you end up that's based on your service, whatever you're doing. But the idea is that you could do is you could offer that as a standalone, right? Which is a standalone audit roadmap. Deep dive.
Factor it in to the main.
And then you say like, this is my one standoff. But if you upgrade, right, which is only a little bit more per month, you get that fully done for you every 3 months or every 6 months. We kind of reevaluate. But we're also supporting you with X, Y, and Z. And so that's one way to use it as an attraction kind of model to really benefit your clients. And the idea is that you're still giving value. Like that assessment, that report should come with some outcome that they can take away that's going to impact them. And so there's still some value there. And it's not just like, oh, you're just paying me for my time. Like they're getting some tangible value from that they're going to be able to implement in their business or life, or however you serve them.
Here's the other thing, like we've just implemented this in the last few months, and you're aware of this. With our SEO packages that we offer now, we're always offering a live dashboard view. You could go and look anytime you wanted to see the data. You also had the option to download a PDF. Every month we'd send you a PDF. One of the things that we've implemented in the last couple of months, because we've got a lot of feedback from clients, was the data's hard to read. The data is too complex. We don't know where to look. One of the things we've implemented is a summary report talking in plain English about what the report is all about, what the dashboard is all about for that particular month, and what the results are really look like for them. And we've had such great feedback since implementing that. The value proposition for what we do now has just gone through the roof, because a lot of customers have come to us and saying, you know what, this is great. I can take this straight to my board and show them the results we're getting. I can literally take exactly what you've got, get on a phone call and talk to management and tell them what we've done. I can take what you've given me and I can turn that into my own simplified summary with a couple of highlights, and I've got something to see that this is really working, and I'm getting the results that we're paying you for. And that's been a really big turning point for us. So some of the things you're going to be implementing, you can implement value add propositions that are going to be just make life easier for the services you're offering to your clients. But that could be a unique identifier and a value proposition that someone else is not doing right now. And that's going to make you stand out above the crowd as well. So yes, pay attention to the trends. Yeah, but pay attention to the trends your customers are sharing with you that you can implement as an extra value add to your customer base.
Exactly. Sorry for interrupting. I would say the important piece of that too is to find things that are going to help them achieve their main goal, which whatever program it is. So if you're looking to add value or you're looking to add like those bonuses, what are those? Again, low cost, but it's going to help them be more successful in your program or in your offering, or to get the outcomes that you're telling them that you're going to bring to them. What are those things? And that essentially is what you add in, and offer as a bonus or offer as those extra tangible value adds that you're going to include in your package. So
I like that. I think that's great. So now, Dave, there was something we were talking about pre-show, and it's about some software package that sounds like a cereal that you wanted to, tell everyone about. And we thought it would be a great opportunity.
I was literally just going to go, all right, well, we just talked marketing. Let's take a moment here. And then you beat me to it, brother. So this is
sorry, man. Like, you know all the intros. I thought I'd take a crack at it.
We are literally we're like thousands of miles away from each other, and yet we're still right there locked in. I love it. Love it.
So I think for the audience who's listening, one of the things that Dave and I have decided we talk about way too much is software, applications, and implementation of new software that we test out. So we thought, hey, why not add a segment each show, somewhere around the middle, where we're going to talk about a new piece of software or an app that we've been playing with, the experience we've been having with it, and it could be something of worthwhile for you guys to, take a look at. We're not going to be getting any sponsored or endorsement and from this, but there's no affiliate codes at this point. It's literally just, if you want to go and test it out, feel free to check it out. So Dave, tell us all about this wonderful cereal app that does something with note taking.
Yeah, so it's called Granola, and I found it because obviously I've used a lot of note takers. They all have their benefits, and the one I was getting away from was called Jiva, and nothing of bad about the note taker. There was just other pieces of the platform. Note taker was just a part of that I got away from, and so I was looking for an alternative. Like I've tried, obviously there's a Zoom note taker you could do, but there's very limited, and some other ones that I think are decent. But why I fell on Granola was, one, a lot of times people don't accept your note taker, especially if it's their meeting. They don't want it, And so with Granola, it doesn't have to join the meeting to take notes. And the thing that is also like Granola is that you're not recording. There's no audio recording. There's no video recording that's being done. It's literally just listening to the conversation and then turning it into your notes. That would just be like, hey, here's the bullet points of what's been discussed based on how it transcribed it. You can also then add your own notes throughout the meeting. Like there's availability for you to type up other things or things maybe that you want to remember from your conversation. And what it'll do is, as it's preparing its AI notes when the meeting's done, is integrate what you typed with where it falls into the conversation, which I think is, so if there's a link or if there's a to-do, great. The other thing is you can organize all of your meetings into folders. So every folder, everything that's going on, you can put it into a particular folder. And then the AI piece, you can then talk to that folder or that meeting note specifically. One, if it's just one note you want to talk to and figure out, hey, what's my to-dos from this? Or if it's a whole list, maybe it's a client folder that you're like, hey, just give me a summary of the last 5 meetings of the to-dos, so that the next time I meet with my client, We want to walk through what was to be done, what needs to still be done, and then what needs to be new business, et cetera.
Yeah.
And so that's what I love about it as well. And the last thing I'll give you, kind of some insights here. And again, there's a free account. There's also, you can also do a pay account. The free account, you only get the last 14 days of your notes that, keep current. But with the paid account, it's unlimited. And I think it's only like 14 or 15 bucks a month, which is not that bad.
Okay.
But the last thing is you can create your own recipe, and the recipes are what the chat will do for you. So for example, I created a recipe to create a follow-up email based on the notes, talking about the top 2 or 3 tasks that need to be done as a follow-up.
Oh.
But what I also then prompted it to do was, if there is more tasks, create me an actual document that will be attached to the email that breaks everything down into at least 2 layers of bullet points of what needs to be done to accomplish that task based on what was talked about in the meeting. And so now I'm able to provide these more detailed follow-ups, right, from my sessions with my clients than I ever was able to before. And that's what I like about it.
So you look like a superstar after the meeting going, hey, by the way, wait for after this meeting, I'll send you some notes. It's not a note taker that's going and sending them a generic set of notes, which half the time are not that accurate anyway, like Fathom and all those other platforms. So I have a couple of questions, Dave. It seems like it's pretty affordable. For most people who have 14, if they're going to use the free version, there's 14-day storage of the notes. I'm guessing you can just export the notes and use them if you need to. Or if it's doing the automation, you might not need to worry about anything beyond that if you didn't need to go back to your original notes. If you've set up a recipe to take all those and email them, you might be able to work around that. But it doesn't sound that expensive at $15 a month anyway for that sort of tool. And most of those tools are what, $30, $40, $50 a month?
Right, because they're part of other bigger softwares. And you got to kind of analyze how you want to, use your funding and everything exactly. But the other thing I like about it too is you can create templates of how you want the notes to be formatted. So maybe, introductory, kind of conversation, you want one template to be assigned, and then, client meetings, you want another template. So that's kind of neat. And then you can have your own private notes, right, that aren't shared with, the note taker or the main notes. So if you're having a client session and you want like maybe a private reminder to yourself of things that you have to do, or, things that you want, if you're a coach or a mentor, you need to coach them on, and you want it private, you don't want it in the main notes, you can put that as a private note. And then the beauty of it is then you can share access to the notes via link as well. So you could say, hey,
so
here's
you can have notes.
Note.
That's cool. So you can have notes for like internal teams that work with you, like I do, and say, look, I need to send off internal notes to my design team to action this that we talked about. But currently, I go and create 3 sets of notes in ChatGPT where I do a dictation, and this is for the client, this is for this team member, and this is my list of things I need to go and do. And I generally create that and then break it down and send it off manually. So, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. So think of this, like, because I know you do a lot of audio to ChatGPT. Yeah.
So you don't have to do that. So what you can do is you just go into Granola, because it records your system audio and your microphone. So you can just go straight into Granola and say, just listen to me. I'm going to spot out some things that I need to do, and I need you to take some notes. And then we'll break it down into who I need to be talking to and everything. And you talk directly to it, and it'll break it all down into the notes. And then you can have your recipes that will then break it off and do whatever task you needed to do based on that audio.
So is this a Chrome extension? Is this an online app that opens in a browser? Is it a downloadable app?
It's an app for Mac. I believe right now it's only Mac, but it also works. It's also iPhone. Right. And this is the other piece that I like about it, is that you can record your in-person meetings just by using an app on your phone. You just click, record, and now it picks up. The one thing it does lack, though, and I will say this, because especially in person, it doesn't know who's talking. Or if you are multi-people in a session, like right now, it'll know me versus you, because it picks up the microphone versus the system audio.
Yep.
That's something that they're still improving, especially with the in-person, like understanding who is what. Unless like they say like, hey, this is Dave, and then Dave talks, right? which could probably get really weird if you're in like an hour-long session or something in person. But at least
Hey,
you have
Dave,
the
your
notes.
turn. Warren, your turn.
And you can always go back and kind of make quick notes once it summarizes it. So I think that's nice too, is that you have everything seamlessly in one spot. Or, it's on your iPhone. If you don't have your computer in front of you and you're in a meeting and you need to go back to what was said online last week, you can open it up on your iPhone and pick it up. The other thing that is nice is, since it's a desktop app, it will pick up whenever you're like doing something with your microphone or you're in a meeting that's not on your calendar. It'll say, hey, by the way, do you want us to take notes? Because that's what I like, is that it remembers and it prompts you to take notes if you want to.
We forget.
Exactly. And a lot of times, if it's like an impromptu meeting and a lot of these other note takers, they have to be invited to the meeting. And if you don't remember oh crap, I gotta copy the link and go invite my note taker, it's not going to happen. This one, it prompts you right away and it stays front of mind. With, as we're busy business owners, we need all the prompting that we can get.
So I have a security question. And privacy question. So if it's recording in the background, does the person you're actually on a call with know that it's running?
It's kind of up to you. Like, do you want to tell them or not?
Okay. So best practice would be, hey, I'm recording this session. Are you okay with that? No, turn it off. If they are, sure. Unlike a note taker, which comes up and says, do you want me? I'm recording. Do you approve this?
But here's the thing. They're not recording though, right? So that's the thing you got to remember. Like, nothing's being recorded. No audio is being recorded. No visuals are being recorded. The screen's not being recorded. It's only listening to what's being talked about and then note taking it. So think of it like a receptionist just sitting in, an office in the corner, typing away what the notes are, or, in the courtroom, that person sitting up front typing the notes. Yes, exactly. That's all that's happening. And so ideally, you kind of play with your own personal preference. Do you want people to know that you have somebody taking the notes for you? Or, since nothing's actually being recorded, no secrets are being given out, do you feel like it's not something? So it's to me, I would say it's a personal preference. For me, I kind of let people know that it's happening, but we'll see. Most people don't care anyways, just because it's so mainstream now. So
I that's great. And look, do you want to drop the link up on the screen here for everyone to see? Who might want to go and check it out.
I will drop it in the text thing here. Let me see if I have the.
Sorry, I didn't tell him to prepare this earlier, so we're.
No, you're just throwing it on me, bro. Like, what are you doing?
Just get it done. What are you worried about? Come on,
figure it out. And it does integrate with a lot of other apps too. Like, it does integrate with Slack and HubSpot and Notion and Zapier and everything. So if you want automations, you can also do that. So you can have like a recipe that sends to Zapier, which then sends to Outlook, which then sends the email. So you can actually automate some of the stuff that you don't even have to like look at and do if you don't want to. So I will find the link. I believe it's just granola.com. Let me just confirm. And it's not one of those like, granola.ai is the actual website. And
there you go.
Like I said, I don't have any affiliates or anything like that. I can create a quick banner here. So Granola.
Yeah, just jump up. So if everyone who's listening to this, if they like this sort of content that we're producing, we're going to test this out. We're going to drop this up. We're going to keep doing this. We're going to find new things to talk about.
Things that are working for us. Like, it's not just random. I think it's going to be stuff that we've implemented in our business and we use on a regular basis, and how we use it and how you guys can learn and do more with it. I think is an aspect that we felt, and if that's going to be more impactful to the listeners. And if you don't agree with us, share your feedback and we'll cut the segment. But I think it's going to be important. I get the question all the time, like, what do I use? So for sure.
Well, yeah. And I think the other part of that is like, Dave, you're probably notorious for finding new apps just like I am and testing them and trialing them and then realizing they're not up to the hype, or they're not quite where they should be for the use case, or they're worth a little bit too much after the free trial runs out. We've all been there, right? We're not getting enough value proposition. Like you mentioned, some of the other note takers actually have too many features that overlap other apps we're already running and paying for. And it seems like that's just a common thing around. And as a business owner, you don't have time to test 100 apps. So maybe you're just looking for some good advice. One situation I had today, and this wasn't scheduled to talk about, but Google Gemini. So gemini.google.com. You can go in and create a free account with a Gmail account right now. It's worth about $20 US, $33 Australian. per month, and it's got access to Nano Banana, one of the best image generators you can get your hands on right now. Now, the reason I mention this is because I had a meeting with a client today who I just done a training session with a week ago, where I dropped in this and showed her how to use this for some heavy equipment that they sell. They're the distributor in Australia for this heavy equipment. She sat with the owner and the CEO in a meeting this week, and one of the questions was like, I wish we had photos where we could see this getting used in a mine. She says, give me a minute. She remembered what I showed her, jumped in, and she set a prompt about having this piece of equipment, which was just a no background PNG file of the piece of equipment. I want this shown in this environment, doing this sort of thing. Produced the image within a matter of 15 seconds, showed them, and their jaws dropped. And they're like, right. What is this? And she's like, oh, this is like Nano Banana. And her CEO kind of gave her a sideways look, and it's like, what the? They get out of the meeting. He comes up to her and he goes, hang on. You just made that up, didn't you? You just made that name up. That's not what it's called, is it? She's no, it's really called Nano Banana. Yeah. And it became a bit of a funny scene. But one of the things that we want to do is, it's really great to have these conversations with our clients one-on-one and share all these great stories about experiences with these apps and how they work and all of that. But we want to do it on a public level so we reach more people. Because how do we make an impact? We help business owners make better decisions on their business. And part of that is being able to save time and choose better apps and software packages that work for their business as well.
Right.
So if you've got a niche that you want to talk about, maybe, you've got one of the most knowledgeable accounting people in the industry sitting here in the meeting. That's not me, in case you're wondering. That's Dave. Maybe he can talk about, pros and cons of different accounting packages, depending on the type of business you have. There's all sorts of different topics. So if you want, send us an email, drop it in the comments. We're happy to have a conversation about different apps that we've used and offer suggestions. But yeah.
Yeah, if you have anything, like share it down below, anything like that. Anything you're struggling with in your business and you're like, hey, I need a solution for this, drop it. We probably have heard of something or tried something in that situation. And then with that, before we go into last segment, if you're a business owner, as Dwarren was saying, and there's something that you have an expertise in and you want to share that expertise, and maybe it's some valuable information or education information, there's a link down below these videos, or comment down below that you want to be a guest on a future episode, and I will send you a link to get set up for a future episode to talk about your expertise and that educational materials with our network and with our audiences. But then also, if there's challenges as well that you want to talk through, maybe there's something in the marketing realm, or maybe there's something on the financial side that you're like, hey, I'm struggling with this. We'll talk about that on the episode too, and walk you through it and give you some good insights and point you in the right direction. And then you can decide how you want to run with it. So if that's you, either comment down below, guest, or look in the description. And if there is the link, there's the link in the description. I think it's on YouTube, where you can actually just register for an upcoming episode that is available for you to be on our show. So we look forward to, inviting you there and doing that. With that, the last thing I think is an important aspect that a lot of people roll into in the end of the year is New Year's resolutions. And Warren, you kind of brought this up in pre-show, and the important or not so important thing is, I, as you mentioned, and I agree with you, is it by saying like, oh, I'm just going to make this my New Year's resolution, you're giving yourself the excuse to procrastinate.
Yeah.
And so tell me, so why do you feel like that is?
Well, I think people just have this illusion that you must have a New Year's resolution, whether it's a personal resolution or a business resolution. And I just think, you know what? You can have a resolution and start at any time. You don't need a set time, to start doing that. It's like if you see trash in the corner, what, are you going to wait till trash day to go and take it out? Or are you just going to take it out? Right? I mean, there's things to be done. Just get them done. And stop procrastinating and stop using it as an excuse. A lot of business owners that I talk to is like, oh yeah, this is my New Year's resolution. I'm going to do this. You could start working on that anytime. It doesn't have to be a New Year's resolution. You can have a business plan starting in the new year that you've prepared prior and start working towards it, but maybe just, I don't know, change the terminology. I'm not one for the New Year's resolution terminology. I don't think it's a necessary terminology in business. I think too many people are using the terminology of New Year's resolution as an excuse to wait till New Year's and just feel like they have something to contribute in a conversation. I mean, how many networking groups have you done in January? It's like, well, let's share what our New Year's resolution is for this, for our business. And it's like, well, I think we just changed the conversation to be something more along the lines of what are we doing in our business that's new and what's working? And what have we tried doing that's not working? And share those sort of details so that people can share and help each other out. Because the other thing is when you start talking about your idea prior to starting your idea and treating it as a New Year's resolution, then you're just delaying getting started. And if there's a valid reason for delaying it, then that's fine. But in most cases, it's just, I don't know, I feel people are just doing what you said, procrastinating.
I think it's the same. I think once you have an idea or something that you want to set for yourself, like get started on it today. Like you don't have to wait till New Year's, or you don't have to wait till, oh, I'll start that on Monday. Like, no, like start today, because what's going to happen is that Monday's going to come around and you probably forgot about it, or New Year's is going to come around and you probably forgot about it. One thing that I've been trying, or you got busy, and then things, and this is why a lot of people drop off of their New Year's resolutions, is because it wasn't that big of a priority for them to get started right away. And what I've tried to start doing myself is, as soon as I think of something, I either pull up my phone and I send it. Like if I'm driving or if I'm out somewhere, when I stop, or I use another app we'll talk about in the future, Voice, I'll send an email to myself saying I need to do X, Y, and Z. So the next time I'm at my computer and I open my email, it's right there. And now I can get started with that. And I've made it a point. I'm not perfect at this. And so I know you're feeling, I sometimes too, procrastinate. It happens. But I've been trying to get better at it. Something that I've been trying to focus on. And I haven't set New Year's resolutions. I set goals monthly, quarterly, yearly, and I get started on them right away. Like, what do I need to do? So
actually, I like that terminology. Let's talk about goals and let's talk about milestones to reach those goals, as opposed to what the New Year's resolutions. I think if we just change their terminology and the way we communicate about that, much, much better. You mentioned something interesting there, actually, which just got me. You mentioned the Voice app. Yeah, you piqued my interest in something, a different topic. I just want to touch on it. if you're, we're coming up to Christmas, right? And I don't want to fall into the trap. We go back to the marketing thing. One thing I think you should definitely look at doing is thanking your staff and thanking your team and thanking your customers that made your business possible this year as part of what you do. And instead of sending out those generic emails, which we are all tempted to do, I'm going to set myself a challenge. I'm going to actually go, most of my clients, I'm already connected on some form of social media platform with them, whether it, a messaging platform, whether it's Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, Viber, LinkedIn. I'm going to actually record a personal greeting for each one. And I'm going to send a personal greeting rather than a generic message as an audio file. And you know what? It's probably going to be quicker to do that than creating a personal message for everybody. But I think it's also going to be really quite impactful. So yeah, you just gave me that idea then when I was thinking, I was like, how can I do something unique this year? And I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a little voice message and just thank people for their business, thank them for their partnership, thank them for trusting us to work with them. And then we're looking forward to doing this again next year. We'll still be here.
That is another good topic for next week that I just thought of, is outreach and the different mediums, the different types of outreach that you're doing and how impactful that is. A lot of people that I've talked with, me myself initially as well, was only really focused on one type, right? DM, right? Or email. And stay tuned next week. We'll talk about this next week about why it's important to do different types of not only platforms, but different types of medium, different types of actually getting the message into your prospect's mind. Because as we talked about earlier, you got to stand out. There's so many things that people are competing with. So,
I mean, I'm loving this. I think this is a really exciting little topic to talk about. And I think we touched on outreach this week rather, and different solutions and techniques. And I would say if you're going to DM somebody on LinkedIn this week, instead of sending them a DM, introduce yourself with a DM, but then follow it up with an audio file straight afterwards, and see if you get an increase in interaction from a personal.
It's different. It stands out. It's
absolutely.
It breaks the norm. It breaks the norm. So
yeah, I want to try it. I mean, before next week, I'm going to try that. I'm going to do my greetings to people. That's what I'm going to work on. I'm going to see what sort of reactions I get. And Dave, I guess, you're doing outreach all the time, so maybe try that technique and let us know next week how you found that, and we'll use that as part of our segment next week to talk about. Sorry, I just totally threw you under the bus then.
No, because I've done it on other things where I do like Loom videos is another way to do it. So we'll talk like all these different things, and we'll talk next week. So it's a good sort of teaser for next week. But to wrap up today, Dwarren, what do you hope from today's episode was something that was impactful to everybody that was watching or is watching the replay?
For me, I think let's go back to that first segment about marketing trends and forget about what traditional seasonal trends there are and start focusing, like we've said many, many times, who is your customer and what trends work for your customers. What is that? Because you're communicating, your marketing's not for you. It's not for the masses. It's for the customer that your niche customer you're actually selling products to. The person who's buying 80% of your customer base who's buying your product, that's who your messaging should be for. So just focus on who that is and build your marketing strategies and seasonal marketing trends based on that. Don't get caught up in Christmas. You don't have to have promos for Christmas. You don't have to have a Black Friday sale. You don't have to have any of that nonsense. At the end of the day, you can just create something that's unique and very niche direct for your customer base.
I like that. And kind of to piggyback on that would be, for me, the biggest takeaway is to realize how important it is for you, one, to build your expertise, and two, to build the trust factor with your prospects. And how do you do that? And we talked about that earlier, about building in an assessment process or a review process that is personal, that provides value to them if that's all they get from you, but that then places them based on on those results and your expertise into the particular program that is going to serve them the best. And sometimes that's going to be your entry-level program. But by you offering that and saying, based on what you've told me, I think this is a good place for you to start, they're going to trust you even more because they're realizing that you're not just trying to sell them the highest level service, right? They get to know you. And those types of salespeople where they're like, oh yeah, you got to do this high level. I know you're just starting out, but like this is going to give you the best results. And a lot of times it's not. Things have to get ramped up. You have to grow in progression. You don't need a full solution if you're just trying to start off, like we talked about earlier in terms of pricing and discounts. And I think that's the second thing I'll say. So first, understand how you build your expertise. Do an assessment, do a survey, place them in the right package. And then the second piece is if you're an established business already with established clientele, stop discounting. Discounting only costs you money out of your pocket. And then it's even that much more difficult to get those discounted clients up to your normal price once they're past that discounted period. So stop discounting, start adding value. Add things that are high value to your client that adds or makes it easier for them to achieve your outcomes, but are low cost to you. Those are your value adds. And that's going to do way more than discounting your price. It's going to maintain the value of your service, and it's going to build and make your client more successful.
100%. I love that. I think you're right. I think that is a really, really good takeaway for today. And again, guys, make a comment, put some notes in here if you want to hear more about software. If there's a type of software, we'd love to keep doing those segments. I think we're going to try them out for a couple of months. We're going to see how that works. Not everyone's listening to this live. People are going to be watching a playback. Feel free to drop in a note and a comment as well. We love to read them, and we really appreciate every person that takes the time to tune in, whether it's for a full show, watching us at 2 times speed like Dave does, or watching our our snippets that go up after the shows. If you want full episodes, you are listening to a snippet. They're all on YouTube, so you can grab it. You can grab it on our YouTube channel for the full show.
For sure. And if there's something you took away from today, help us get the word out. Help us share and impact more individuals' lives. As everybody knows, if you've listened to this before, with Triumph Business Solutions, we're on a kind of mission to serve and impact 1,000 businesses by the end of 2028. Sometimes that's from the show. It's an impact. It's a testimonial we get afterwards that they listened, they implemented something we talked about. That's an impact. Help us do that with your network. If there's somebody in your network, you have a lot of business owners in your network where something today stood out to you, share it. And we would appreciate that. And we love you all for being here. As Dwarren said, we love that you made it. If you made it to this far, do all that fun algorithm stuff. Make sure you like, subscribe. The majority of people that watch the video, that watch the podcast, are not subscribed. So make sure you are. And so that way you can get notified every time we post up a clip or, a future episode when we go live as well. So we appreciate you all. Hope you have a wonderful and amazing week. Remember, next week on the 19th, we're going to talk about the different types of outreach and the mediums that you can do and impacts and why you should be switching it up, as well as we'll give another software insight that we use on a regular basis. So Dwarren, thanks for joining me. Thanks for watching. We love you all. Have a wonderful and safe week and enjoy your weekend. We'll see everybody in the next one.
Thanks, guys. Take care.